Hello everybody, happy Sunday. Thank you for being here. I always look forward to this space and coming here, so yeah, thank you for being here in any capacity as always. Whether it's coming here live, whether it's commenting, whether it's just coming back to the replay, whether it's just sending good love and good vibes over this way. Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, coming off the weekend, I've had a pretty good weekend. It's been unseasonably warm here, so hopefully everybody else has had a good, relaxing, productive, restful weekend, and we're ready to start a new week here. We have a lot of Mars going on this week, so we're coming into the full moon that's coming through late tomorrow night, Eastern time, so just before midnight, depending on where you're at. It'll be either late Monday night or coming into early Tuesday morning. And there's other Mars things that we're looking at here too. So I'm going to go ahead and put the intention up here so that way we can see that, whether or not it's the first time you've seen this. Intention always comes out on Friday. I want to give you a little bit of time to sit with it before we come here to this meditative space. Hopefully you get good things from the meditation, but also I know that there are really good things that you can get from sitting with the words and just sitting within your own space and your own energy that I cannot give to you. And yeah, coming through in its own way, in its own time. So the intention comes out ahead of this meditation, but also ahead of the weekly video. That comes out Saturday. So Friday is the intention, Saturday is the weekly video, breaks down day by day, looking at everything, and then we come here on Sunday. So the hope is that there's been an opportunity for you to have a good personal dive into the astrology of the week before we come to this meditative space. If you haven't seen either, that's fine. You can come right here and we will just lean into the week. We don't necessarily look at all of the transits here and the meditation, but we look at the key ones. This week it's looking at most of them. So yeah, here's our intention for this week. It's kind of long. There is initiation within depth of character. There is initiation within depth of character. So I want to take just a moment to sit with those words, whether or not they're the first time you've heard them. There is initiation within depth of character. Diving deep into those Mars things here this week. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put up the chart so we can take a look at that like we've been doing recently. Right now I have the chart of the moment. The moon's in the sign of Pisces, but it's getting ready to move into the sign of Aries here overnight. And that's going to set us up for the full moon that we have tomorrow. So I'm going to actually go ahead and roll the chart forward here to tomorrow night, and we're going to push it forward a little bit more. I think it's around 11:30. Yeah, this is pretty close to the full moon. I have it coming in exact at 11:46 p.m. Eastern time, so you can change that to your own time zone. So we have the full moon at 14 degrees of Aries coming through here. Tomorrow night, that's Monday, October 6th. So the sun's in the sign of Libra, and the moon's in the sign of Aries in opposition to it. The ruler of that full moon is Mars. Mars is in the sign of Scorpio. You can find that in the 5th house in this chart. And you'll also see that Mercury has ingressed into Scorpio just before this full moon. So tomorrow, earlier in the day, we have Mercury moving into the sign of Scorpio, where Mars is the ruler of the full moon, and that is also the place of Mars. So there's a lot of Mars energy going on here, being that the full moon is ruled by Mars. Mars is in its other domicile, so that's an interesting twist that it brings along to it. And then if we go ahead and go forward, we can take a look at Venus here. Venus coming through Monday is at 21 degrees of Virgo. If we go ahead and roll this forward, we get a nice little sextile between Tuesday and Wednesday from Venus and Jupiter. Not going to touch on that a whole lot today, but I definitely talk about that in the weekly video. And then moving forward, Friday into Saturday, we get an opposition from Venus to Saturn. So Venus is in the 3rd house in this chart at 27 degrees of Virgo, and Saturn is at 20. It would be just shortly before this. Let me back up. What? One day. Okay. So you see that. Okay. So they actually meet at 26 degrees here, but splitting hairs, 26, 27, whatever. You can see that Saturn moves from 27 degrees to 26 degrees as they meet up here Friday into Saturday. So this is the last aspect that Venus is going to make in the sign of Virgo before she moves into the sign of Libra. We'll talk about that on next week's video, because that'll be coming through Sunday into Monday. And then just making note that we will talk next week about as Venus enters the sign of Libra, which is her sign, which is her domicile. Right now she's in her fall, so she's in a place that may be a little bit more difficult, but coming into a place that is much more conducive to the things that she wants to do. And then she's going to make that opposition to Neptune, and she's also going to make that aspect, that trine to Pluto. So those aspects that all of the planets have went through as they've moved into the sign of Libra, Venus is going to make those too. So if we think about Venus and Saturn being a little bit difficult and possibly limiting or, making us feel a little bit stuck within the things we're trying to achieve, within where we were trying to find balance or harmony within our desires or relationships, just know that she's going to move into her own sign, and then she's going to trine Pluto, she's going to oppose Neptune, and those are lovely things to potentially think about here. So this week, lots of Mars, right? Libra and Aries are both cardinal signs. So they're both signs that start or initiate things. They bring us into new seasons. Aries is the sign that brings us into spring, and it brings us into the place where light is coming into dominance. And Libra is the place that brings us into fall. It ushers us into the dark half of the year, where Aries ushers us into the light half of the year. So they're both starting things, they're both initiating things, but they're initiating things within different ways and for different purposes. Aries initiates out of action, drive, motivation. Often it can be looking at a single type thing, or, maybe focusing on the self, or it could just have like some tunnel vision where it's just blindly focused on one thing, and it's able to, like its peripheral vision is kind of out a little bit. It's the fire domicile of Mars, right? So Mars, the warrior, in Aries is initiating, it's starting, but it's blazing forward down a trail. Venus starts and initiates in the sign of Libra, but within a different way, within an airy way, within a Venusian type way. So the initiations we get from Aries can be much more center focused. It can be much more focused on one singular thing, where the initiations we can get in the sign of Libra can be looking at a little bit broader perspective, or at least two things coming together and how they interact and how they're either balanced or they're working together or they're not working together. Those two things can be aesthetic type things. Those two things can be people. It can be us in our own mind. Remembering that Libra is an air sign. So they both are wanting to start, initiate. So you have this initiation within the intention and within the full moon for sure here, right? This full moon is the height of the lunar cycle that started with our solar eclipse. So there was initiation into this next lunar cycle within the solar eclipse, right? That can take us through a variety of time frames. We've talked about that in the last several weeks, many, many times. So there's this start and there's this initiation. The depth of character comes through with all of this Mars and all of this Scorpio type energy that we have coming through. Mercury moves into the sign of Scorpio just before the full moon. So it's just stepping into that watery feminine area of Mars where Mars is. So the full moon wants to start and initiate things, and it's very much Aries. It's very much fire, and it's driven, and it's creative, and it's passionate, and it wants to move forward the way that it wants to, like any Aries full moon. However, it has that depth, and it has that digging down that Scorpio has. So Mars in Aries moves forward. It digs forward. It blazes forward, right? Where Mars in sign of Scorpio is a little bit more like it digs down and drills down and finds the depth rather than finding maybe like the distance or finding the speed. So within this start and within this initiation, there is also this level of slowing down, looking at things, taking in all the details, making sure we're not missing anything, making sure things are real and authentic. Scorpio is not a sign that wants to half-ass anything or sugarcoat anything, so it definitely wants to have all of the details ironed out as much as it can. So within this full moon, where things have been started, things have been initiated within the solar eclipse. Eclipses could have been heavy for a lot of people. We talked a lot about Saturn having a lot to say about the eclipses, and eclipses can be heavy in general, right? Because they emphasize the light and the dark and the obscuring of that, and what can be hidden and then what can be uncovered from the eclipse, from the lights literally being covered for a short period of time. So things have been started, things have been initiated, and maybe there's changes that have been going on that were unexpected, or maybe just things that are not going quite the way that you anticipated them to. That doesn't mean that it's a good thing or a bad thing, but maybe things have been moving, and maybe there's been this weighty focus with Saturn within the eclipses and within the lunar cycle that we're in here. So with the full moon here, if we started initiating something in the sign of Virgo, that was where something was birthed, right? Virgo, that sign that takes us from the place of the light half of the year, moving towards the dark half of the year, not quite there yet, still within the light, but knowing that there is a maturity that is coming, and then that is amplified with the way Saturn was opposite to that solar eclipse. Now with the full moon here, it's like maybe if we were shown a path and but maybe we weren't quite ready to go down that path, or maybe there were still kind of things that needed to be put together with the eclipses that we had. This can go back to the lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces as well. Maybe now we're given a moment to initiate a new phase and to step forward into something. However, there is a depth that we need to look at here. There is some other layer. There is something that maybe we still need to learn, something that maybe there's a different perspective that is there for us to see. But there's a little bit more. And we are given the energy within this full moon here to dig down into the details, look into the crevices, and see what we can uncover. There is a courage and a bravery to look into the spots that we might often avoid in the sign of Scorpio. And you can find this whatever house Scorpio falls in within your own birth chart here. So with both Mercury, our mind, thoughts, communications, perceptions, being in this Scorpio place, Mercury in the sign of Scorpio can be very investigative, very much wanting to see all of the things, whether it's for better or for worse. And then Mars is very motivated. It's emotionally driven. It's driven by the things that it's connected to, the things that really inspires it deep within. It's not, if it doesn't feel, often in the sign of Scorpio, if we don't feel moved by something, we're not going to act on it. But if we feel moved or we feel touched or we feel an emotional connection in the sign of Scorpio, then we are going to keep moving with that thing until we can't anymore, right? So we're going to take it to the very, very ends. So I see this full moon as a moment for us an invitation and a moment to initiate into this deeper level of the character of the situation. When we think about like the character of something or the character of someone, I guess often we think about a person. We think about its qualities. We think about the integrity, like the trustworthiness, how much that person is, what are the general qualities of that person? How do they make you feel? Do they make you feel safe, secure, whatever? You can think about that with like an object or a situation too, right? So like, what are the characters of this table that is here next to me, right? Like it's made out of wood, it's, long, the height of it, whatever. But looking at the qualities and the character of the situation, of the people that have come towards us, of the thoughts that have come our way, of the situations that have come our way, and just really look deep into it, right? Within the full moon that has all of this passion, all of this drive, and all this motivation to move forward, Are we moving forward for the right reasons? Do we have all of the details? Is there something else that we are missing here? So it's moving forward, but don't go too fast, or moving forward, but also stepping back and looking around at the same time. At the end of the week, we have Venus and Saturn coming together in an opposition. Venus, if we're looking at Venus as far as our desires and what fills us up and what we enjoy, that is part of our character, right? Saturn has us taking a hard look at those things, looking at what brings us balance, what fills our desires, what does not fill our desires, what do we want to keep engaging in, or maybe what do we not want to engage in anymore, right? Looking at the character of the situation, and does it match the vibes? Does it match the energy of where we're at here? So I can see this deep thought, this penetrating, investigative thought here coming through this week. And it can be moved kind of quickly too with Aries, with the Aries full moon here. So yeah, interesting energy here. I talked about self-isolation in the weekly video, and that does not necessarily mean a bad thing, right? If we are focusing on the self and we are maybe a little bit self-centered, maybe we are reassessing. Maybe we are sitting in meditation and we are contemplating the things that have been around. Maybe we are making plans that we can stick to emotionally and intuitively. You know, maybe we are spending time with things, with different events that have come up for us recently, or different processes that have started. I don't think slowing down and reassessing and looking at things is ever really a bad idea. So this is cool stuff that we have coming through here this week. We have this moment to move forward. It's the height of the lunar cycle, right? So we still have this culminating energy of fire, of passion, of drive, of whatever has been seeded within this lunar cycle and within the greater solar eclipse cycle too. But we can move forward with that, and we can bring it to a new level. But we also have this other level of maybe having a gut instinct of understanding that we need to fully move into the thing within its full expression, whatever that means. Again, Scorpio does not only does real, it does not sugarcoat, and it does not do fake. It only does authentic. So truth being told could be a big thing. Making sure we think before we act, think before we speak this week, because like I said, lots of Mars. So we still have all that fire, drive, motivation. We still have all of that passion, but we also have Mars in the sign of Scorpio, where it can be very emotionally charged too. So that can be a very empowering energy, right? That emotionally charged energy can have us moving from a space that has us a space that we are emotionally connected from. So if it's coming from a space where we can feel it within our heart, we can feel it within our gut, we can feel it viscerally within our being, then we stick with it. We are committed. We know deep within ourselves that whatever the thing is we're sticking with, we're going to stick with that thing, right? Yeah, so cool stuff that we have coming through here. I did not think there was really any coincidence when I saw the Hanged Man pop up here today. I thought that was pretty spot on and pretty perfect, right? Because we have the Aries full moon, which is Mars. It's moving forward. It's blazing a trail, but it's doing it within the full moon. It's doing it within the height of this energy. However, Scorpio is a feminine sign. It's a water sign. It's much more slower. It's much more receptive. It brings in more. It's a sponge, and it brings in all of that information and all of that energy and assesses it all. You can't do that while you're blazing down the path. You have to slow down. You have to sit in stillness and see different perspectives and maybe reflect on the different situations. Maybe there's something more to see. Maybe there's something more to come. Maybe there's more details or more information, more messages. Something there else for us to see. And then it feels like if we are metaphorically hung by a rope here around our foot, the scissors are going to pop up to where we can just, right? Snip it and move forward. So cool energy that we have coming in here this week. Cool energy to really, really look into the details. So don't discredit the little things, right, this week. Look into the small little things and keep your radars up at all times here coming into this week. So yeah, cool things. I'm looking forward to this myself. So moving into that space and that situation of an invitation of looking deep into what's been surrounding, looking into the ideas that have been coming forth, looking at the people that are surrounding you, the environments and the situations. We have an invitation to look into all of those details as we are moving forward this week here. So cool stuff. So we're going to spend a little bit of time holding still like the hangman here as we move into our meditation. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the intention up for just another minute or two. So we can just take another peek at that. So there is initiation within depth of character. There is initiation within depth of character. Digging deep down into the qualities of the situations, looking at them, reflecting on them, seeing what is serving the path, seeing maybe what we need to let go of. Scorpio does not have a problem letting go of things that it doesn't need anymore or that just aren't working. But if it is something that it has that emotional connection to, that inner connection, then it will go to the ends of the earth for that thing. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and move into our meditation portion. I'm going to go ahead and move the intention off of here. And we have our intentional candle, which is white as always. I like to use white because it's a blank slate. There is purity, there is clarity, and there is a cleansing energy with white. So we can have a blank slate to move forward with whatever's coming our way. You can take the color of this candle, you can change it to any color that feels like it works better for your situation or what you have going on. Just starting the week fresh, new, and moving in with clarity, purity, and newness. So I'm going to light the intentional candle, and as I do so, I'm going to recite our intentional phrase. As I recite the phrase, I encourage and invite you to say it with me in any capacity that you are able to. So once more, there is initiation within depth of character. There is initiation within depth of character. All right, I'm going to light the intentional candle. As I do so, the flame ignites. As the flame ignites, it begins to grow. As the flame grows, so does our intention. There is initiation within depth of character. There is initiation within depth of character. Maybe you need to really reflect on what has been going on around you. Maybe you need to step deeper into some sort of processes that have been going on around you. Maybe you need to sink deeper into the contemplations of what it is you really want. Excuse me. I think each and every one of us know where the contemplation is needed for us at this moment. So, if you haven't already, go ahead and find a comfortable position. If you'd like to be seated, that is great. If laying down, standing, sitting, whatever works for you at this time. If you're ready to do so, you may go ahead and close your eyes. If you're not quite ready to do so, that's okay too. Excuse me. If you're not ready to close your eyes, then perhaps you can soften your gaze and just find a space to kind of look gently at without focusing too intently on whatever is in that area, just kind of gazing beyond whatever it is that you see. Perhaps you let your gaze fall just beyond the tip of your nose at a slightly downward angle, or whatever other position works well for you. As we come into this meditative space, our attention begins to come to our breath. Here, as you begin to turn your attention towards that breath, your first instinct may be to start to change or alter the breath. Perhaps you have a more ideal idea of what the breath should look like. I'm going to encourage you to refrain from making any changes or alterations, if you can, for just the first couple minutes. Instead, I encourage you to sit with the quality of the breath that you are entering this space with for just a short period of time. Perhaps you begin to assess and analyze the breath. But sitting with the breath wherever it is in this moment. When we sit with the breath without changing or altering it, in a way, we are honoring the breath as it comes. When you are honoring the breath, you are honoring the path that has brought you to this very space. As your breath is an accumulation of the energies, the experiences, the emotions, the perceptions that have come before this moment. Moving slow and steady. Slow, steady, deliberate, yet receptive. Just like the sign of Scorpio. Notice what you notice as you follow the breath through its natural patterns, moving along with your breath on its journey. A journey that it takes whether you're focusing on the breath or not. After you've taken a moment to sit with your breath where it's at this time, I invite you to begin to deepen the breath, deepening the inhales and the exhales. As you begin to deepen the breath, I encourage you to set a goal. Allow that goal simply to be that each inhale brings in slightly more air, slightly more energy than the one that came before it, and each exhale releases slightly more air, slightly more energy than the exhale that came before that. Following the breath, following the inhales and the exhales as they slowly deepen and lengthen. You ride along with your breath on the journey through the respiratory process. feeling deeply into the character and the quality of your breath. As you continue to follow the breath, perhaps you begin to sink deeper and deeper into your space and into your own energy. Perhaps you start to notice whatever it is that you notice. If your attention wanders away from the breath, gently bring it back. And find that focus once again. This week, as we build towards the Aries full moon, a place of power, strength, motivation, the will to start, the will to birth, the will to go out alone and blaze a new trail. Ruled by Mars, which is in the sign of Scorpio. Its other sign, feminine and water, reaching towards a space that is fiery and masculine. One is assertive, one is receptive. And just as the sun and moon sit in opposition, holding a tension of balance at the moment of any full moon, if you slow down, can you find the balance of assertive and receptive? Can you find the balance of masculine and feminine, even just for a short period of time? Balance is not always easy to find. Leveling and fairness, just actions and reactions. This week we notice all of the details. We look deep into the character of the situations and people surrounding us. Looking to act out of clarity and understanding rather than rash emotional reactions. The will to move forward, but the will to understand the depth, the details, are both co-present this week. You may feel that you are coming to a starting point. Perhaps you're standing just behind the starting line of whatever is standing in front of you. As you are waiting for the sign to go and lunge forward, you calculate, you plan, you strategize, you look deep into the situations. As you're standing at that starting line, you notice that there is a mirror in front of you. A large mirror. Perhaps it's oval in shape. Perhaps there's another shape that came to you. Roll with it. You see this mirror, and you notice how it's decorated around the edges. You notice the details, you notice the colors, the shapes and the sizes. And you find yourself slowly looking around the edge of this mirror and just noticing what you notice. As your gaze continues to circle around the edge of the mirror, taking in more and more details. Your mind is intrigued. Notice what you notice, any small details that come up. Any messages, any details. When you observe around the edge of the mirror, you are circling the edge and the perimeter of that which surrounds you. Slowly your gaze begins to come towards the center of the mirror in front of you. And you see yourself standing in that mirror. And at first glance, of course, you recognize that it's you. The familiar expression, posture, maybe even shirt. But then you look again, and you look a little bit closer. And you're still looking essentially at you. But you start to notice little details. You start to notice little things about yourself that perhaps you've forgotten. Perhaps you start to think about enjoyable things that there hasn't quite been space for. Perhaps you think about your feelings and your emotions that have been coming your way. Perhaps you notice physical features about your body. Most of us don't spend a whole lot of time looking at ourselves in the mirror, truly looking at ourselves in the mirror. Perhaps you begin to see yourself completing certain activities or reaching certain goals. Perhaps you see yourself participating in whatever it is that has been coming up for you. Today we initiate a space where we look deep within. Within what? Within ourselves, within others, within situations and environments. We look deep within our goals and our aspirations. Perhaps there's emotional connections. Perhaps you're noticing a whole lot right now. Or perhaps you're simply gazing at your reflection, wondering what you should be experiencing. The goal of the experience is to connect and allow whatever the experience is for you to be experienced. Mercury and Scorpio may talk in riddles, may not always seem clear, but the message is there. The message is deep and profound. But perhaps we need to look a little deeper, slow down a little bit more. With each breath, move deeper into your contemplations, observing and understanding whatever comes your way. This week there is fire, there is passion, there is drive, and there is motivation. But there is also water. There is a deep, emotional, intuitive connection that unites each and every one of us, just as the waterways connect many different sections of the earth. It is through water that we can relate, that we can understand, and that we can build deep emotional connections. It is within fire we can find passion, drive, creation. We can find strength. What is driving you this week? What is pulling you forward? What is life leaping directly into? No regard for reactions or anything that results from the space we're in. Simply experiencing, jumping right into the experience. But within that, where can you look a little deeper? Where can you find a new level of initiation within that assessment of the depth of the character surrounding you? This week I remind you to take a deep breath and feel your connection to the earth. Feel your connection to the space around you, both physically and energetically. Because when there's this much Mars, it's easy to get frustrated when we're in the hangman position. But when you are moved from a space where you are standing on your feet to being suspended upside down in the air, you are given a full new perspective. You can see the same environment, the same situation, the same space and experience that you are in, but from a completely different perspective. And that is what I feel this week is calling us and inviting us to do. Step forward into the energy, step forward into what is calling us, but make sure that we are looking deep within and we are not just acting rash and we are not initiating just simply to initiate, right? Yeah, cool. I am looking forward to this energy. I think I said the word intensity like I don't know how many times in the weekly video, but I think there definitely is an ability for some intense energy this week. Scorpio can get very fixated on those details, so just keeping that in mind as we move forward here. Yeah, Melissa, I say bring it too with this full moon energy. Hi Melissa, hi Nikita, see you guys in the comments. Thank you for being here. The Hanged Man. We want to go forward, we want to move forward. The Hanged Man is very interesting when you think about the Aries full moon that's coming through here because it feels oppositional. But then when you think about all the Scorpio energy that we have, this invitation to slow down while we're moving forward and to see another perspective, see another detail, something that we miss. Maybe there's messages that are coming through. Maybe we need to slow down and see all the details so we don't miss any messages or any little signs or symbols that are coming our way, right? Yeah, so happy full moon, happy days, and happy week. I hope everybody has a wonderful night and a wonderful week, and I will look forward to seeing you all next Sunday. We're going to be here next Sunday. We will not be here the following Sunday. I have a training course that I'm taking all weekend, and I'm not sure that I will be back in time. So yeah, the events on Facebook are listed that way. Yeah, we're here today. We'll be here next week, and then we're going to have a break the following week. So thank you, all of you, for being here. I appreciate all of you more than you'll ever know, no matter how many times I say it. So thank you. Take care and have a good one. Bye, everybody.